Welcome to Data Center Dialogues. My name is Suyin Aerts and I'm your host of this series of deep dives into the world of data centers. All right, very happy to have all of you with us again for a new episode in this podcast series. Today we will discover the future of tech, and as you know, we are in the data space, and that means that we will touch upon AI. We will talk about quantum and we will talk about next generation cooling. And obviously I've got two guests again. Erik Mannens, professor and researcher, not only at the university in Ghent, but also in Antwerp. And Laurens Van Reijen, managing director at LCL Data Centers. I'm sure that you will probably bring us an operational insight if we talk about adapting data centers to tomorrow's tech. And Erik, I suppose you will bring us a more academic and research perspective on, let's call it, very disruptive technologies, or at least that's how we feel they are disruptive. Maybe for you, they are not that disruptive yet.
I've been around in AI for 20 years now, so...
Yeah. So some people think AI is new, but... it's not that new, obviously.
It's not that new, but I'd rather be a professor in history or mathematics because every year something new happens, or let's say every 2 months something revolutionary happens in AI. So.
And would you rather really be a professor in history?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Then maybe a very difficult question to start with. If we talk about emerging technologies, I was talking about AI and quantum. Which one do you see as the most disruptive for the data center universe?
Well, for the moment, it's definitely AI. I think also due to probably the Trump administration, I guess AI is really on top of minds of every leader in the world. So I think AI is going to be the next nuclear power.
Okay. I think that's quite challenging if you are working in the data space. How do you think you will be able to keep up with these technologies?
Well, AI is for us something new. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So there was not a lot of requests, let's say 5 years ago, for these type of workloads. It was, at that time, the maximum power draw of a rack was 5 kilowatts, sometimes requests for 10 kilowatts. But today we get from customers requests for, let's say, power draws for per rack above 50 kilowatt, sometimes 100 kilowatt, and then we hear that the newest chips can be put in only one rack with 600 kilowatts. So it's challenging. Our sector is going to change in the coming time because of all these new workloads which are coming. And that makes it very interesting. And I agree to Erik. There's every time a new challenge, also in the last 20 years in the data center sector. But this is really for us something new, a paradigm change for how you build data centers.
And what would then be your biggest challenge? Is it then to keep the narrative going and up to date? Is it the people you work with? Is it making strategic decisions for the future?
It's, all of these. First of all, can we handle the demand of power? In an existing data center, I don't think so. So we need to move to a different kind of data center. Can we cool it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we cool it? The weight of these servers, it's, in the past, a rack was 800 kilos, and now it can be tons of equipment in one rack. So that's a complete change. Okay, it will take some time to implement it. Not all the workloads will come to Belgium. It starts first in the Nordics, where the power is cheap and the training is going on. But it will slowly come to our country. And then we need to be really ready for this new thing. And for example, in the cooling, I don't believe that we can cool these servers in the future with air. So we need to do liquid cooling, which is the new thing. And I don't recommend to customers who want to do AI to do this still with air cooling. We need to do this with better systems like liquid cooling.
Mm-hmm. We could maybe tap into more specific details on cooling, but Erik, if so you say, okay, AI is the first thing that you see go into the real world. What about quantum? Is that going to leave your research base very soon towards?
Well, AI is real right now. Quantum might be the next big thing, but I think we're way off. I think the quantum will come into existence not before 2035.
Okay.
Now, all these research institutes have computers with like tens of qubits, but in order to have real power, we need a quantum computer that has probably 1 million qubits. On top of that, currently the error correction is really below par, so that's why we need 1 million qubits to have enough error correction. Also, in order to take up things, we need some standardization. So, why are these SQL databases ever? That it was inferior as a database, but it became mainstream because it had a standardized language to talk to. So we don't have a standardized programming language for quantum for the moment, and also for data centers, it will be very difficult because quantum computers, they run at temperature at almost zero. So that's minus 270 degrees. I think I will not have a quantum computer in my home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we only had once a request for a quantum computer. It was a few years ago, so there's not a huge demand. And this is also from a point of view of operating. That's a challenge. It's like having Arctic temperatures, even worse than Arctic temperatures in an environment which has to be very safe. No trembling, secure power, which is not changing in frequency. All kinds of prevention. So it needs really, it can not be put in our co-location space. It will be a separate data center, and that's I agree. The demand is so so low that it will take years to do this. But it will be a challenge, and our engineering team will.
Yeah, I was going to ask: is there a use case that would convince certain people, like, yes, that's the way we really have to go? Because
definitely it will change cryptography because it can calculate so quickly. The current cryptography standards will not be sufficient anymore. But I think to me that is the only very real use case I see. Security.
Besides, let's say, the demand you had for quantum from one customer, how about the workloads that you see shifting because of the use of AI with the customers you work with? Is that something really real where you see that demands for changes are coming from the customer side?
Well, when I look at the customers, it's they will continue with their traditional IT business. There's even in that a growth, and AI is on top of it. It's not replacing something else. It's a customer saying, okay, I have a lot of data, I have a data lake, and I want to calculate something, and so this is additionality, and it's not, something to replace something else. So
is that something that will change, where companies will think of AI as really replacing and not on top of things?
No, I think I have to agree with Laurens. It's going to be together. It's going to be on top. But what we do not see enough is that the amount of energy that we will need the coming decade for AI and all the chips, the new chips around it, it's going to be huge. Like last year, IMEC, our biggest research institute here in Flanders, doing research on the new paradigms of the new chips of the future. Well, last year we existed 40 years, and all the big CTOs came along, AMD, Intel, Foxconn, Apple, Nvidia, right? And there was one fil rouge. They said, our sector, hardware and software together, the next decade we need to make sure that our industry uses 50% less energy in the making of chips, in the warm dissipation, and the running of AI, because it's not going to be sustainable. For the moment, our ICT industry, I think on a world level, consumes 10% of all energy worldwide, and if we keep on doing that by 2030, it's going to be 20%. So there's a huge amount of electricity energy needed to keep all the systems running.
Mm-hmm. And do you say there was this fil rouge? Do we just see the fil rouge, or do we say like, okay, let's work together on solving this issue and do the right things first, tapping into that energy consumption?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's two things there. In hardware, I think we're trying to move away, or not trying to move away, but find new materials that have better heat dissipation. Like if we use germanium instead of silicium, for example, germanium-based chips have 30% less of heat that comes out of the chip. So that would be one way of solving it. Of course, in my realm on AI, I'm not let's say a real strong believer in these large language models. That will not do the trick in the end. But currently, all these big players, they just go for world domination and say, bigger is better. But that is certainly not always the case. So I think if we as Europe we want to be leader again, we should put our money on AI research that researches AI systems that use less energy, less data to be trained on, and that are cheap and open source. And that is, I think, the way Europe should go. And as we see it on a daily basis, DeepSeek, out of thin air, comes with some new paradigm. So in AI country, it is very simple. You invent something new, all of a sudden you're top. So we as Europe, we should not be shy, and we can do better than the Far West or the Far East.
Cool. So that's, I think, the mindset that hopefully you can bring into this European space and ideas.
We have some
yes.
crown jewels. We have IMEC.
Yes.
There's the only research institute in the world, except one in China. But of course, geopolitically, no one wants to work with China. Certainly not in the Western world. So we have the best research institute to work on the next chips design, and on top of it we have only the one manufacturer that has the machinery to make these chips, ASML in Holland. So
it's a no-brainer, is what you
we
actually
can
say.
we can really stand up.
I think a lot of innovation is needed. If we want to grow AI, then we need really to do innovation research to make everything more efficient. Otherwise, we will hit also the wall. It's not brute power we need. It's smart research. Make better chips that consume less, but also look really when chips are designed at a way how we can cool it in a better way. And that's why I believe that in the liquids of cooling, a lot of innovation is needed, that we also need to reuse the heat which is coming out of these chips, use that in heat networks. So this needs a lot of academic research.
And AI will help us with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we can also optimize our cooling with AI. So we need to have this innovation. Otherwise, it will not happen. I don't believe in these data centers which are announced, where you have a data center next to a nuclear power plant of 1 gigawatt. A lot of announcements in the last 2 years about that. These are, of course, the big tech companies who are announcing that, and then after all these announcements, you hear the announcement of DeepSeek, with less resources because they didn't have the resources. Maybe not all, but but probably with less resources. They did a big step forward. If we, put a lot of effort in research, then we can, as Europe, have our own, industry.
Mm-hmm. And if you say we need more research, do you then also say, as companies, we should reach out more often to the research people to make sure that what is researched doesn't stay into the research space, and that you are researching what the business is asking? Or should we keep it very...
So yeah, if you look at data centers, they are really traditional technology today. It's the old-fashioned generator, UPSs, things like that. I think we need to have an innovation in that, with cooling, with the chips, with how we do a power backup. Maybe even in the hardware we should think about, and that's where Belgium also is strong, is in modular nuclear reactors, things like that. These things are important. So that will be a new paradigm shift for the data centers. And then, of course, you have the software. Programming languages, which are often not so efficient, but also what you wrote in your book, business model innovation, about how you use AI, which data, how much recalculations, to make that more.
To come back to your initial question on how research should work together with industry, well, I might be kind of special there. I come from industry, and when I moved towards research, the only thing I did since 2005 was looking at industry, local industry, European industry. What are their needs, and then try to work together.
Mm-hmm.
So both of my teams in Ghent and Antwerp only became bigger by working together with industry. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Like, research is already paid for by society, so we have to give our knowledge back as soon as possible to the local industry.
Is that something that you are quite unique in, if you compare yourself with other researchers?
I cannot be too cocky, but let's say definitely all the groups that are in the realm of that work together with EMAC, they already have kind of a focus of trying to work with industry. Of course, and that's good as well. Of course, we also need fundamental researchers and professors that really are sitting somewhere very isolated, quietly thinking on very, very new paradigms. I'm more an applied engineer. I take these new things and then try to implement it towards industry.
Mm-hmm. And is it then challenging to keep up with the industry once you are in that research space? How do you make sure that you keep that line? You say, okay, you come from industry, then you go to research. How do you make sure to stay in the real world?
By talking to the industry in the first place. Like,
Mhm.
okay, my background is in data and metadata and standardization. If I see in some firms that they still work with Excel sheets, and that from one pillar of this company to another pillar, that they don't even exchange data in the right way.
Mhm.
There's still
A lot
lots
of
a
work
lot
to
of
do.
work to do even before you can use the data and give it to an AI algorithm.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my the last couple of years, I'm really kind of an evangelist on all these things, at least to on the C level, to give the awareness on how they should treat their data and optimize their data so it can be used
Uh-huh.
for AI in the first place.
So what you say is do your homework first and then
Yes, but I want to help them
people do it.
making
Yes.
their homework.
And can there be a role for a data center in helping customers to tap into that homework? That obviously it's not the first time that I hear this in this podcast. Like it's very simple things that people don't know, don't want to spend time on. Is there a role for you as a data center to discuss with the customer about how to become more efficient and
I think there's definitely a role for us. We're a company which is very customer centric,
Mhm.
so we could, advise our customers on certain issues, and that's something we like to do, because most of our customers like us because we tailor-made data center solutions for them, and that's big differentiator compared to our competition, and that's why our customers like us. And when they have requests to us, we always try to help them. We're not offering a menu like in a restaurant. We want to be really the chef, and
Okay.
create something new for the customer.
But if you want to do that, you need the ingredients to be able to be the chef and to create that. Is that hard to keep up with having all the ingredients you need to
That's a
stay?
mindset within our
Yes.
company.
How do you?
We have a project team which is very innovative. We have
Mhm.
a team with which runs the critical infrastructure, which needs to be on top of everything. The service delivery team, so it requires people who have this mindset to do so. And of course, we think customers, they are looking at an outcome. They're not looking at kilowatts or electricity or square meters. For them, the outcome is more important.
True, but I really like LCL because sustainability, it's really in your core. I think maybe there's a middle layer needed to help you to convince certain clients that maybe a certain way to go in AI, more data, bigger models, is not always the way to go. So of course, if you can sell more servers and more space, but that should not be the key.
You say we need a middle layer. Who's gonna take care of the middle layer and be the in between a little bit? Whose role should that be? Is that an extra role within the data center? Is it?
It could be a differentiator for other data centers if you also have this role to play.
I agree. We're working on a platform which is called Data Center University. So we want to educate our customers, and in AI we don't do it yet, but I think there will be a role for it. And it's not we don't want to sell a lot of power. That's not our business. It's our business is selling solutions and having happy customers with it, and that's a premium. I think that brings value. That's our differentiator.
Erik, you touched already a little bit upon the next generation of calling, which is, as you say, absolutely needed. I think you agree on that. Where do you see the real innovation happening, or what is ready to be launched sooner or later?
I think Laurens already touched upon. We need better ways to get rid of the excess heat, and now air cooling is what is used, but that is suboptimal. So liquid cooling is definitely submerged, and so really everything in kind of oil, some material that better harvests the heat, and then afterwards can reuse the heat. And so so liquid cooling is one. There's a new paradigm like the two-level approach, where you use a liquid that can evaporate on very low temperatures. So then it's very very good in getting away the heat from the chips. And the third one is getting liquid cooling on the chip level itself, like via cold plates right above the very hot chip. But these are I think the three things that are in the making of going mainstream. Yeah, and the thing is that AI will help us getting there. So I think it was DeepMind that helped just via AI helped Google get their cooling like 30% more optimal, just by knowing when to stop certain fans and having kind of waves through the whole server park. So we need kind of, again, these kind of new ideas. I saw now just lately that AI helped them to get new kind of fins in or like things on top of the chip, so the movement of air was much better. So I think AI will definitely help in the next wave of cooling, but I'm not a material science guy. I just read stuff on this.
And can we trust AI on helping us making that decision?
Certainly.
I had to ask this question, obviously.
There are use cases where certainly where humans are involved, where it's tricky if we should
trust or not.
Trust AI or not. There we need not the black boxes, but if we want to save the planet and then whatever AI system, if it's black box or not, if it does the trick, then it's okay. Yeah.
But how important is it that we remain in the global world we still are in today, but with the political situations nowadays, everybody's we don't know in which direction we go. How important for AI is it that we have this global scale?
It is very important, and I've been around in ICT and AI for 20 years now, and I did not see that coming, that one man in particular on such a short time frame can make such a huge difference. AI, that was normally I show you a picture of a nuclear bomb, not a nuclear bomb, but a nuclear test that exploded somewhere at the Bikini Atoll in 1942, where all the physicists say, wow, we solved the equation of the energy problem, free energy or cheap energy for everybody for the rest of the world. Yeah, 2 years later, they misused it in some bombing. And then we have Fukushima, we had Chernobyl. So AI, we are there, we are 100 years. So there's lots of stuff that can go wrong. So we need regulation. We need to regulate AI more than it is these days. And we tried doing it here in Europe with the AI Act. And also the States and even China looked at our law and said, well, yes, let's take the best of it. And then Trump came along and all is off the table again. But I hope it's temporary.
Is that also important for you as a data center, that you can act or at least exchange ideas on a global scale?
Well, if I come back to the geopolitical situation, today more than before, customers want to have their data in country. It's for them becomes very important that they have their data in the country, they have data sovereignty, that they are sure that legislation is applied to it. GPRS is very good legislation, which is used worldwide. Europe is leading in that. So and there's new legislation coming up like NIS2 and DORA. So that helps our business in Belgium. The local businesses want to have serious businesses with serious data. I think for them it's an eye opener. And there's the risk that at certain point a cloud service might be turned off because of a decision somewhere else. So
that is the one good thing on the uncertainty of Trump is that now in Europe we know we
realize where our data is.
We need to do something here in Europe ourselves and not rely on big tech from somewhere else.
And then if you look at big tech on the global scale, they need to come also to Belgium. I think that inference will be done in Belgium. The consultation of a model, you cannot do that thousands kilometers away.
Well, no, that is not sustainable. You want the data as close to the edge as possible.
Exactly. And that's why we think there is also a role for Belgian data centers to bring the data closer to the end users, which is used also in streaming. Today, streaming is not coming from one point in the world. It's distributed. It's in the edge. And the same will happen with AI. We cannot wait milliseconds before an answer comes out of a model. So that's something which is important to us. And then, of course, we feel with the initiatives we are taking, buying green energy in Belgium, investing in green energy in Belgium, doing business with local partners. That's a differentiator from hyperscalers, which might buy green energy in Spain and then announce they have it. No, we want to be really in our ecosystem in our country and work with local people. So that's for our customers, I think, also in the differentiator in sustainability.
Erik, I was surfing a little bit on your website, very nice website, by the way. And I see that you want to reflect on how you and we should envision the world in 2080. I'm not going to ask you to envision and share with us how you see data centers look like in 2080, but how do you think they will look like in 10 years from now?
My personal opinion is that we neglected our planet as a parameter. We just took all the resources we could, but all the resources on the planet are scarce. So we have to optimize that, right? So in an ideal world, the data center of the future should be self-providing in energy on green energy. And the hardware and software should be optimized. The hardware, for example, should be kind of as circular as possible. So we will go to a world where we will not have these one big chips, but we will have chips based on smaller sub-chips, like chiplets. And if a new chiplet comes out that is much better than the other, we just change it. We have to do research on new materials, on how to best recycle all these materials, hopefully for 100%. I think this is where the perfect data center should look like. Completely green energy, sustainable and reusing as much as possible. Also the heat, but I think the new building that Laurens is building is already with this in mindset.
Is that true? Is that did you have that in mind?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're thinking about that every day. And we have our sustainability team within our company, and we were talking about net zero, and then you have to be net zero in 2050,
True.
Which is in 25 years.
Yes,
how can you make
soon.
a goal? Have a goal which will take 25 years. That's not a target. That's
should be much
so
sooner.
I will be on the
Closer.
graveyard by that time. So. So it needs to be in 10 years, and we need to be net zero in 10 years. We have, of course, to make the planning for that, but we have to have a more short-term goal, reduce the CO2 emissions, and then compensate in the end. But that requires a lot of work. So I was looking in my agenda, and for a new appointment in 2080, but that's too far away. And then you were talking about your spaceship Earth. I don't yet have a spacesuit, so it's better to make an appointment in 10 years' time, and
I'm glad
and see how far we are coming.
And how important, because I have the feeling that you could say like, okay, that's a very romantic idea. It's impossible, although I think it is totally possible.
It is.
So, yeah. So how important is it then to have this leadership, this strong positive leadership from the researchers on one hand, and on the other hand of companies and the leaders in those companies that really want to make that difference? Should we get some of the leaders out then and replace them by people that are willing to go in that direction?
Again, in 2080, probably I also will be in a graveyard, but I have to give my best to this society for another 10, 15 years. So I'm really going to be this evangelist warrior, stating to all the C-levels that we need a future for our grandchildren too. And there are companies now that make lots of profit, and at the same time have sustainability high up their agenda. I think the young people will gladly
not buy it anymore.
Yeah, will gladly go to the companies that have sustainability really high up their importance.
Mm-hmm.
And we need these bright minds, so we need to attract them to innovate. And
so research-wise, I'm not doing research on these large language models. We have these large language models, but the future is really on AI systems that are kind of working like us humans. We only use 20 watts if we think. So there's going to be, I think, me as a data scientist or as a professor AI, I'm going to work together more with medical doctors, with brain surgeons. I think the next neural net will be a real neural net, will be neurons on a petri dish where we do stuff with. And that uses only probably 20 watts instead of these terawatts that OpenAI currently uses.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say 2080, you might not be there. You say the same. I'm quite sure that because of your research, I will be around for sure. That's not some of the research you can do to keep me alive until 2080. Maybe not. Maybe that's not very sustainable. No, I know. I was just joking. The thing that is true is that I have to round up our discussion. I have the feeling we can continue discussing these topics for the greater good, which is very important. Although I don't want to leave you without asking this one question that I ask to all of the guests in this podcast series. And I'm going to challenge you to try to answer this in one sentence, or you can get two, but that's about it. What is the one belief about data centers that you think we should challenge more often? Who goes first?
Okay, we shouldn't be the black boxes where there are a lot of servers. We have also social impact. We have other impact, and that's something we need to really pursue. So,
okay, thank you for that.
On the same line, we need transparency, and I think the local data centers like LCL are probably will be there sooner than the big ones, because they just want world domination, and transparency is not in their language.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking the place in our couch and for
Thanks
sharing
for
all
me.
this knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Data Center Dialogues. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. And you can also access all our resources and episodes at Data Center University. Empowering data center knowledge, stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time.